Hi everyone, good evening. Hello there. It's a beautiful Sunday. Another edition of Conversation with the Love Crusader. And it promises to be a very excited one. Exciting one, I mean. I have two great people here with us this evening, and we're talking about one topic I know everyone wants to listen, hear, or talk about. It's a bit controversial, but we'll do our best in this conversation to untie the knots around the topic. Pharmacist City Lion needs no introduction. She's been here before. She's here again. She's going to be a regular face very soon here. And I have my brother, my G, my brother from a different mother. Dr. Patrick Giwa is here, and he needs a bit of introduction. For those who do not know, Patrick Giwa is my brother. I'm his elder sister. We don't have the same surname or same father, biologically or spiritually, and every other way connected. I call him a vision bearer. He is a friend. If you want something done and you have, in fact, everyone needs a Patrick in their corner. That's my conclusion. So he's a father, he's a brother, he's a friend. He is the head of the Peaceville Villa. I'm going to stop there. He's a PhD holder, young, doing well. I'm super proud of him, and I'm happy that I got him to come to this platform. It is the first time of many to come because he has a lot to give the world. People like Patrick should be out there talking to people. And I know God will create that platform, a bigger platform, for him to be able to do that because there's a whole lot in him. All right. So the topic this evening is love and age. If you're just joining us for the first time, this is Conversations with the Love Crusader. We have this every Sunday evening. It's live on Facebook. We are live on YouTube. You can subscribe so you don't miss any edition. Call your friends, share the video. You know, there's a lot to learn. There's a lot to gist about. It's a gist, but it's also a platform for learning. So welcome, TT. Welcome, Patrick. You want to say hello to people who are connecting with us? Can we just say hello, Titi?
Hi, people. It's good to be here again. It's always interesting.
You're
Awesome.
welcome.
Yeah, same thing. Thank you very much for the introduction, and such a privilege to be here. I am very honored. I'm looking forward to the conversations and learning as well from everything.
You know, it's weird. It's weird. I can't call you Patrick. I'm too used to calling PJ. So I just stay with my PJ because I've been going
Yeah,
forward and backward with it. I'm sorry. I just have names that I call people and I stick to it. Titi
yeah,
Layo is Titi with me. I've never been able to call her any other thing. So just in case I keep calling you those names, no, now it's we're pals, we're just in aspire, you know, we day house, you know, that kind of thing.
exactly.
All right, love and age. Because Titi has been on this platform before, I'm just going to ask Patrick, Dr. Patrick, to give us a bit of introduction as to his idea about love. How would you define love? What do you have to say about love?
Right. Okay. So I'll try to define it the way I understand it. So I won't give the biblical answer or the answer that we all know. For me, love is essentially sacrifice, and that's it. It's how I understand and see love. But just to go a bit further and preparing and thinking about this. Love is patience, and it might sound cliche to say because it's things that we probably already know. Love is patient, love is kind, love is long suffering. But doing all of these things, what we get at the other side of love is the companionship, is the partnership, and it's cheerleader. But yeah, the underlining thing for me is that love is sacrifice.
Love is sacrifice. Okay. I think we agree. We all agree because it's one of the things we also see on this platform. love is sacrifice. Okay, so like we always say, and that is why we have this conversation, we cannot define love. Love is just so big. There are many aspects to it. There are many areas of it. There are many types of it. So it's a very, very wide topic. I remember we were talking about love and spirituality, and we're saying love is God, God is love. That's another definition of it, so many of it anyways. But thank you for that definition of yours. Love is sacrifice, and we agree. So love and age, let's hit the ball running, because I'm super, super interested in this topic. And before I start to asking the questions, just this week, a friend of mine, and I'm saying this story with her permission, because I said to her, this is like, what a timing. She's about, she's in her late 40s, and she has a young man right now who's proposing to marry her. Never been married. She's a lady, never been married. And she has this young guy who is proposing to marry her. And for her, she likes the guy. It looks like every other thing, he ticks every other box. The problem is age. Age. So, Titilayo, love and age. What business has love got to do with age?
Exactly. What business has love got to Should we talk about age in this part of the world that I'm in, or age, love and age generally? Because it seems like they're just, depending on your geographical location, it's just a whole different perspective altogether. But seriously, if we have a better understanding of love, what love is, then to an extent, age might not come in, depending on what level we're talking about, So, or should I say, if both parties have a better understanding of what love is, then age might not be an issue. Again, it depends on the level, because these things are in levels, right? So, I would say that with age is expected to come maturity. Yeah. So, is that maturity that is tied to age that most people kind of use in place of each other? So most times when people talk about love, when people talk about age, they're talking about maturity, because it is expected that as you grow older, you should be more matured. But that's not the case. Most times, a lot of people that grow older and they don't know any better. So we cannot hold age to ransom, or hold one person to ransom and say, oh, because he's younger, you can't even dare to fall in love with this person or get married to this person. We can't do that. That would be a lot of injustice with love. So I think what most people confuse is maturity. That on one aspect. Then on the other aspect, for someone that is way younger, say maybe in their teenage age, 16, 17, no matter how mature you say you are, that's why I say there's levels to these things, there's process to these things. There's something time does, that you need to wait it out a little before you get to that level of, okay, say I want to get married to this person. So I wouldn't say a 14 or 15-year-old is so matured, he or she knows so much about love, then go ahead and get married. You still have to wait it out. So that's why I meant by depending on the level that we are talking about. We can't hear you.
No, I was not surprised. You've thrown me a curveball now, because you said, if I understand from the beginning, you were saying the age does not matter, and towards the end you're saying we cannot expect a 15, 17 years old to know about love. So that conclusion is not trying to say that age may matter. Dr. Patrick, PJ, what do you think? Love and age.
Um, yeah, Sister Titi kind of said it really well. Said exactly the same thing I had in my mind. But I was going to ask you the question back. So you said the lady is 40, in her 40s. How young is this guy that's proposed to her? We talking 20s?
Not in his 20s, in his 30s. So there's over 10 years. Over 10 years.
yeah. So yeah. So like Auntie's already said, age is simply a number that defines your existence on Earth, right? Like like she was saying, what we want to be asking about is this person matured enough? Does this person understand what love is and the decision they're making, proposing to a woman, all that sort of stuff, and not necessarily the age. Like the other part around being young and being ready to get into a relationship, a serious relationship, it still kind of boils down to maturity as well. I happen to have started dating. Dad would probably not be happy to hear this, but like, very young, 16, I think. But that's because I happen to be have been brought up to have a very matured mind from a very young age. So, I wasn't in the camp of I always knew that I wanted to settle down from a very young age. So, but any relationship I was going into, it was going into the mind of for long term, not necessarily to play around and quickly dash out. So I'd say I was matured enough not to get married at that point in time, but to understand what love is. Obviously,
Okay,
I've got
okay,
to know that I've
okay.
understood it better.
It's good that PJ said it. I didn't want to say this at the beginning, but one of the reasons I brought PJ here is because I know this history about him. PJ
Yeah.
is one person that I know who started dating quite early, got married early. He's married and he was married as a student. Uh, pushed school, set up families, started having children. I mean, his first child came while we were still trying to settle down and say, "Oh, what just happened? Did he just get married?" Hey, Phoebe, he threw us a surprise. So it's one of the reasons he's here, and I'm glad he mentioned it. Now, we keep talking about maturity. I was watching a video where Bishop Duncan was talking about the fact that marriage is not for boys. He practically said his first marriage crashed because he got married too early. So he said he was 24, his wife was 25. How early is too early, really? I want us to define maturity. We're going to come to that. But first of all, how early is too early? Titi?
Um, like you are just saying now that he got married at the age of 24. I'm like, is 24 early? Is 24 too early? So it still boils down to the same thing. Information, exposure, understanding. What do you understand love to be? What's your perspective? Do you have the right perspective of love? Do you have the right understanding of what life really? Because you know that, okay, yeah, you go into a relationship quite early, you get into marriage, is a different ballgame altogether. So we're talking about love when you're in a relationship and all of that. When you get married, it is love and life. So do you have that understanding to be able to merge love and life together? So that's what the maturity we're talking about in essence. So if at the age of 24, I don't really think 24 was early. I think maybe he just missed something. Yes, maybe he just missed something. There's some kind of understanding that he didn't have. So you realize that those that got married younger and kind of their marriage didn't go too well, they would tell you that if they knew better, you hear people saying, not even those that married younger, even those that married much later, and probably the marriage didn't work out. They'll tell you, if I had known better, I would have handled this differently. So again, that maturity comes to play. But like I said, at the other side of the balance, I wouldn't say a teenager, no matter the kind of maturity that you have, no matter the kind of wisdom that you have, these things, there's processes to this thing. There's something that time has to do. So yes, you have that exposure, you have that understanding at say age 16. you know I wouldn't advise you to get married at that age, because there's something that life needs to teach you. There's something that life needs to and nobody can impute it on you. You just know it by yourself. So that's what I think that we process. So yes, we are saying that age is not really. So if you say too early, I don't know. But I would want someone to really mature in their mind. And in, how they say Jesus grew in wisdom and in stature. So mature in stature, mature your mind before you start talking about getting married. Yeah.
Okay, so another confession is that Patrick is not alone in the boat of early marriage. I married quite early myself. Um, my husband was 24 and I was 22 when we got married. And I like the fact that you're saying that people always say it's about what they know. There are a lot of things we've gone through in the phases of our marriage that uh, we would have done differently if we had known better. Let's use that word, like the phrase you have used. Um, um, Bishop was talking and he was saying, "Oh, as a young man, first know how to fold your socks, arrange your socks, wash your clothes, prepare yourself." Before you start thinking of bringing a woman, you are not bringing a maid, or like they will say, "Oh, you don't wish to marry. Who will be cooking for you? Stop cooking for yourself. You go and bring." That mentality. Like one of our audience has just commented that it's about culture in some cultural places, and we know where we're talking about, where we all come from. You go and get a woman, it's almost like go and get a maid, the one who will come and now be the cooking and the cleaning and all of that. So I just want to ask, for somebody who is listening, we keep talking about maturity. What are the signs that I can see? So I'm young, maybe I want to marry early, and I have this guy who also want to marry early. How do we know we are matured? What signs, PJ, what signs are there that will make us know, okay, this person is matured enough, the girl is matured enough, or the guy is matured enough?
So when it comes to marriage, that's maturity for marriage is a whole different thing. I think I want to hear from Anciti first, like from a lady's point of view. When a guy like this lady who's in her 40s, for example, and we're saying, okay, this guy needs to be matured and be in that place ready for marriage, like from a lady's point of view, what does it mean that a guy is matured? Because it's that could mean a lot of things. But I want to hear from you first. What do you mean?
So they're throwing the ball back to you, Titi. What would you see in a guy? You're married for years now, what would you see in a guy that will make you believe that, okay, this guy's mature?
For me, I didn't marry that early, at least not as early as you guys. I got married at 26, and I didn't think, I wasn't in a hurry. As a matter of fact, marriage was not even on my mind. You know, I didn't think I didn't think there was something called late, actually. you know. But what I saw was, first of all, for someone to begin to talk about family, that starts telling me that, okay, maybe this person is serious. But that serious is part of maturity. So he's beginning to talk about family, and he's serious about it. Talk about settling down. You see that he's working towards it. His reasoning it seems as if he's way above his peers. He's making concrete efforts, putting in concrete steps to ensure he's in everything really. So he's putting in those efforts to ensure that that dream becomes a reality. In the way he treats you differently from any other person that is not ready or is not serious. So that begins to tell you, okay, yeah, this person knows what it is he is saying. So for most ladies, they just feel he's matured. Yeah, and when we see maturity, we know it. the way they think is different. It starts from their mind. Just like you're saying, in the part of the world where we all come from, they say, okay, you want someone to help you cook, clean, do all of that, get a wife. So in the way he's thinking, that mentality, his own mentality is different. So he's in a little bit of everything that he does really, but it begins from that mindset of, I want to settle down. Imagine a young man at the age of 22 saying he wants to settle down, talking about family. That piques your interest and say, okay, maybe this guy knows what it is that he's talking about. Then you now go further to the way he treats you, to the things that he's putting in place, the way he's pursuing knowledge, the way he subjects himself to authority. I mean, so those are the things that you see that makes you like, okay, this person is matured. Even you yourself, you are like, my own seriousness is not up to this level, but you know that yes, there's something about this guy that is good.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, it sounds so straightforward, right? But then I'm asking myself, how is it that so many people still get it wrong? I mean, I don't know if you guys are like me sometimes. I'm not on Instagram a lot, but every now and then I follow this page called Oli, is it Oli Nigeria they call themselves? And every now and then, or you see somebody's Instagram pages that will just ask some random question about, tell me something going on in your marriage. And when you read the comments of what some people are facing in marriages, I'm asking myself,
Yeah.
how did they get into these things, right?
You
But
know,
yeah, speaking about maturity, sorry,
all right, go on.
you mentioned maturity and mentality, and I'm just thinking, okay, that's a whole different that's a whole topic in itself, right? Because you know, there is African mentality, and there is other types of mentality, and you're asking, okay, what type of mentality are we talking about here? But yeah, for me, maturity, I'm thinking, okay, it's responsibility. I think the moment a guy is ready to be responsible for himself first, then for someone else, but the most important thing is to be responsible for himself and his actions and things like that, then I feel like, okay, you're ready for marriage. And again, responsibility is something that we can, again, dissect, because it's a lot of things. But I was going to also ask, you mentioned something about the bishop saying, until you can fold your socks and things like that. Is there room to be matured within the marriage? Like, is it okay to still get married, even when you're not matured, and then your partner is also not matured, and both of you mature within the marriage? Is there room for that?
You see, I just love what the both of you are talking about, because when Titi was talking about maturity in mentality, I'm thinking, okay, so every girl has to be a psychologist now. Like, we have to, how do we get into the head of these people to know if they are mentality? But then she came back to say the way he talks, because we tell people a lot of times what you say is you, and how you address situation is you. So, if you, for example, you're dating a guy who easily blows up the lead at every provocation, I would say, or one who throws tantrums. I've heard of ladies who are dating guys, and when they have issues, the guy will keep malice for a week or two. They are still dating, no. Will not call her. Then she starts calling him. Is it that matter? Are you still angry? Don't be angry now. I thought I apologized. Has the matter finished? You are dealing with a child, as far as I'm concerned. And Patrick concluded it by saying maturity is responsibility. Hey, if you don't want to be responsible, and you know you're not responsible yet, don't even start relationship, no talk of marriage. And I'm coming to your question, Dr. PJ. I'm coming to your question. But I totally agree that it is about responsibility. One of the major reasons, and I always remind my husband, why I felt he was going to be a good match for me was the way he fathered his siblings. Because at his age, he was already a father, carrying the responsibility of his siblings, his family. And I felt like a young man at this age who could be responsible to his family. You know what I mean? He's not making the money and spending it in a club. There were a lot of beautiful clubs coming up in Abuja then and all that. But he could always say, oh, this is needed back home. He was not there. He was not living with his people, but always thinking back. So for me, it was a sign of, okay, this is somebody who would be responsible, either as a father or as a husband, because I saw him shouldering some level of responsibility. Some people would be like, well, for some people, it was a discouragement to say, that was already a load. Why she did not add the load of marriage to it? But that was what I saw as responsibility. So you have to, by your actions, show that you're responsible and you're matured in the way you deal with things and in the way you act when situations occur, what you say around those person, especially when it comes to sticking to your words. For me as a person, I don't take you serious as a man if you say you're coming and you don't come. I'm talking about myself, what I will see as a sign of maturity in someone. You should be a person of your word. When you give your word, you stick to it. When you say I'm coming, you're coming. When you say you're going, let me trust you that you're really going. I'm not stability. And I think it's what most ladies want too. They want to see that you're stable. And before I'm going to go back to Patrick's PJ's question, I'm going to ask you one question and then we'll summarize the issue of maturity. The question I want to ask is, what is the role of money? Financial stability. Is it part of maturity? This person, do they need to have like some kind of financial plan, even if the millions and the billions are not there right now? Do you need to see a maturity in finances? That's what I want to ask. Titi, what do you think?
When it comes to the issue of love and money, you see, they are almost like this. They are almost at the same level. You know, money is as important as anything in a relationship and in marriage. It's just that money should not be the only yardstick. If not, you come crashing at the end of the day. But to ignore it and say it's not all about money and we can all go on, we love each other. No, 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 no. You can't ignore it. So money is important. So just like we are saying, it's part of the maturity thing. Yes, he's not making the millions already, but he only not just has a plan. Those plans are in the works already. You are beginning to see that he is able to put this and this together to make something, especially if it is the man. On the part of the woman, you are beginning to see that she's responsible with money. So even if she's not making the money yet, at least she's responsible. I'm saying on the part of the man because he's going to be the head of the home, and part of the roles of a man in a home is as a provider. There are three basic roles of a man in the home. He's a provider, he's the priest, and he's the, I can't remember the last P. So protector. He's the provider, he's the protector, and he's the priest. So that is why that's ensuring that yes, he's beginning to at least put some monies together, put something together is very important. On the part of the woman, three basic roles of the woman in the home. She's a nurturer. She's one that I can't remember the last two, but there are three basic roles anyway. So because of that, you should be able to see that she's able to the little that she has or the much, because sometimes it's not every relationship that with people going that the person there's poverty or the people are poor. There are situations where these people are rich, they're established. So you should be able to see that this lady is able to nurture, she's a multiplier, she's a nurturer. So you're able to see that she's able to multiply even the much that is with her, she's able to be productive with it. So those are the things that you will see. I can't even remember the question anymore, but but yeah, that is it. Those are the things that you would see. And earlier on I was
It's
talking about maturity and mentality. Maturity and responsibility begins in your mind, and there's no mature responsibility that is not visible. So those things are not in abstract, and is in everything. If you pay attention, again, you need to be mature to be able to see another level of maturity. So if you pay attention, you would see this thing, the way he talks, the way he treats other people, the way he treats you, the way everything. It is there, is all over. So that is it, people of God.
Okay. Okay. Okay, PJ.
Yeah, you.
Wait, oh, I don't have money. In fact, I don't have a job because I'm a graduate, a first class graduate, but Nigeria, there's no job. For example, let's give example of our country, Nigeria, okay? There's no job. So I'm 38, I'm a guy, I'm almost 40, I don't have a job. But because age is running out of me, I need to marry. What do you say? I'm coming back to the financial maturity. What do you say as a guy?
I mean, you want to marry why? This is my question. I don't know why. Again, taking the whole age out of it.
Not time. Age is, yes. Age is running out. Number.
Let it keep running, please. Because you just like, if you haven't like figured out certain things and completely recognize how tough things are, and in places like Nigeria, and how all things don't happen the same way for all people. But if some of those basic fundamental things are not, like Auntie said, plans are in place, you're just gonna bring someone else into that whole chaos, and then it just becomes a circle of. So I think it's good that certain plans are in place, like before you begin to think of of marriage, we should completely take away. And I know it's how we've been brought up, this whole cultural thing around there's a certain age for a lady, and also with ladies there's the biological side to it as well. But with guys, there's a certain age and you have to hit that age, and but I think we need to unlearn some of all these things and take age out of the equation and be thinking and replace that with maturity that we've been talking about. Okay, are my vision and my plans, are they matured enough for me to bring in someone else into all of that stuff? I think that's how we need to really be thinking. So that's what I would say to that person is, make sure you sort your plans and yourself out first before you're thinking about someone else. If you can't feed the one person, how are you expecting to feed 2, 3, 4, possibly people? So yeah, that's what
I can marry a lady. I can marry a lady that has money.
Yeah, that's what, and I was going to actually, take up Auntie Titi on that one, where you were, okay. where you were, mentioning
talking about
the roles of, when we begin to make all these definitions, it makes me, and then I'm thinking, okay, well, if there's a lady who happens to have means of provision, is it like, there's nothing wrong with she being the provider, right? Like,
wrong with that, but you can't argue with the fact that these roles still stand. As a matter of fact, one of the reasons why we are hammering on, because you will see someone that would say that, saying if the guy does not, it's as if it's permissible. If the lady is not working, she can get married, But it's like, it is never permissible. It's not accepted if the guy has to be working. Why is it that? It's because of the responsibility or the role he's going to take up when he eventually get married. I said it earlier that one of the roles of the man in the marriage is the provider. So the woman has all the money, she can provide for them and everything. It doesn't take away that role of the man. He's still the provider, and he still has to figure out how to make that provision. Yes, she can have all the money, you spend all the money and everything, but you, your end of the day, see, uncle, if you're going to get married, you need money. Oh. Just start thinking about how you're going to get, and you need the money before the marriage. It doesn't matter whether the woman has all of the money or not. Ah, you need it
let
to.
me let me give you um a biblical backing. The backing that people give biblically is that Adam was created and God gave him work first before he gave him the woman. So, Adam was busy in the garden, he was working, he was naming the animals, he was tending the garden, and God kind of set up a precedence or you know, an order by doing that. God could have brought the woman before the work, but God gave Adam work before the woman. So this is the biblical backing that many give. And um
Question.
the yeah, I know, we're
Let
coming.
me plan then.
uh the fact also that in most situations where the woman has turned out the provider, there have been challenges. Let me put it that way. In most situations, not every situation, uh, but most cases, and this is where you would help us because you are a man. So when a woman is a provider, or let's not even say a provider, a woman earns more. She brings in more money. Let's even start from there. The tendency is for the ego of most men to feel bruised, and then there's this insecurity that comes in every time the woman says one word. Oh, it's because you're bringing in the money. Oh, she said, and so because you're bringing in the money. These are maybe actions that she would usually do in normally in a marriage, in any marriage situation. However, I think because God put the natural instinct in a man to be that provider, when the role seems to be taken over by the woman, there seem to be issues. And this is why people, but like, go on, you're a guy, you can tell us better.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think it just kind of sounds like, well, that man is probably not sure in themselves, because this whole thing about provider, yes, I agree, a man should be a provider, but is the only finance that I should be providing? There are other things to be provided,
True.
right? So we always bring it down to finance.
But it's
Um,
as if when the that provider financial provider aspect is tampered with, it's like he loses orientation. So he doesn't even remember any other form of provision again.
yes, so that's where we go back to the conversation about being mature, being matured. Because if a man is not matured and sure of himself, then you'll be threatened by the fact that your wife is earning more than you. Because if she happens to be in a sector that is just a higher paying sector, and you're in a different sector, you might be doing all you can to provide. If we're talking about provision in finance here, and you just never match that lady's earning, and you would always just feel bruised because, again, that emotional maturity is probably not there. So personally speaking, the once Patricia qualified to become a doctor, I was still doing my PhD, and I wasn't earning anything. So for for a few years in our marriage, Patricia was the one providing everything in the house, and we didn't have any problem about that, because we've always seen our earnings as one. It's one family. It's, we're paying for the same thing. Now, I I never felt bruised to the point where I am bringing it up in conversation to use it as an attack or those insecurities. But you're correct. There's that inside internal thing inside every man that makes you feel I should be doing this. So yes, I felt this thing
Exactly.
that I should be doing this, but there was never a time where I used it, in a fight or things like that. So that's where the maturity thing is. And yes, because of that internal thing that as a man you feel, it's easy to blot out, right? It's easy to bring it out. Oh yeah, yeah, it's because you're earning more than me. So yeah, so I think that's one thing to definitely check, and that's a clear example.
Good, good, good. So I'm happy that we agree with that. Like I said, you don't really need to have the millions or the billions. If you have it, glory to God, why not? I would not have mind to have married a billionaire. Like Titi has said, it makes things easier. We want to face the truth or not. Money makes love sweet. Oh, by the time he can't take you out, he can't buy you presents. It's not like he doesn't want to. Then now you start, he's not showing me. You have to show love. We know we have to show this love. But man, the guy can't afford to show you. So what will he do? You get the point. So it's a frustrating situation. No matter how much people are in love, we must also look at that financial maturity. Even if the millions are not there, let there be plans. See this person as somebody who has set goals, and like we always say, the woman is the is a helpmate. She's coming to help you, but you have to have something that she's helping you with. You were doing a PhD. You were not just sitting on the couch playing PS4. You know, I had this former colleague of mine who finally were we had to help her kick the guy out. We had to help her kick the guy out of our house. I think it was this idea of, oh, I'm already getting old, I need to marry kind of situation. And she was working very hard. Comes home, this guy is on his PS. I don't know what people call all those their game. His console. He's on his console all day. He's not had a shower. He has eaten the plates. Everything he used to eat is there around him. She has to come back from work, start picking up his stuff, pick up his towel, pick up his this. He's trying, he's looking for a job, he's not gotten one. I said, kick him out, kick him out, kick him out, kick him out. I'm going to personally come there and help you throw the guy out. He's just leeching on you. That's not a husband. Do you get what we're saying? So these are signs. And like Patrick says, it's surprising what people go through. However, the problem is that we see some of these signs before, but oh, age is running out on me. My biological clock is ticking. I don't want to remain single. I don't want to be lonely. And then you enter into it, and tomorrow, well, you jump in, you jump out, because it's only going to get worse. Is there room for maturity? I'm coming back to Pat PJ's question now. Let's talk about it. Is there room for growth and maturity in the marriage when you're already in the marriage, Titi?
Oh, definitely. As a matter of fact, marriage is growth process. Marriage is responsibility, you know, but the basics ought to be there, the that fabric from which you are cut from, that basic essence ought to be there. Then we get into the marriage and begin to learn on the job, because there's a responsibility and maturity, then there's customized maturity. As you begin to know this person, as you begin to understand the kind of person you're dealing with, you now start dishing out the responsibility per person based on the kind of person you are dealing with. So of course, the marriage space is the space for learning. If you don't want to learn, you don't want to improve, you are not willing to do it, to do better, then I don't think you should find yourself in a relationship, not talk of being in a marriage space.
Are you happy with your answer? What do you
Yeah,
think?
I mean, absolutely, that's the case. It's just that it's unfortunate that some people don't almost see it that way, and particularly us men. And again, the way we've been brought up, so you hear things like, "Oh yeah, that's how my mom served my dads," and they
Oh,
expect the woman to serve them that way. And no, it's shocking. It's shocking.
I like
So
I like the way you're saying it. That's how my
yeah,
mom said my dad.
some people don't see it as, like you said, a growth process. I personally, even though I felt like I was I was ready for marriage. It was still a leap of faith, a huge leap of faith. So finance we were just talking about, I didn't have like anything. But within understanding that, just like you and comfort. So you're 22, he's 24. We just understood that, okay, we're kids in these things, and we just went in knowing that, okay, we don't know anything, and we're going to consciously learn and unlearn a lot of things. I think that was also another key thing. We both understood that there were things that we had to leave behind, we had to unlearn. We don't want to be that. And then as we come together, we would figure it out together, the kind of things that we want. But the key thing is not knowing what we don't want. So that was like the baseline, like you said, to actually start from. So if people recognize that, okay, to what you said, this is a learning, this is a growth process, and be willing to kind of unlearn. Like our culture, I feel like there's a good parts to it, but it puts a lot of other things in there that we all need to kind of unlearn and really, like, together create the kind of relationship and marriage that we want. Then I think we'll have better marriages overall.
Amen to that. The conclusion in the mind of people is, oh, now I'm married. It's time to relax. Some of them, before they get married, they're reading books, they are attending marriage seminars, they are learning what marriage is about. Then when we get married, finally, I am married. Oh, it's now time to rest. No, no, sweetie. In marriage in itself has been defined as a university where you never graduate from. It's a school on its own, and it doesn't matter the age that you enter into it. In fact, I would advise that you just enter early and start pushing your keke because you will still meet a keke to push. No matter the age that you enter into it, and I'm talking to those of us who are feeling like, I need to get this, I need to acquire that, I need to do this and do that and do that before I get married. Let none of those things stop you. Maturity is what is most important. If you're matured emotionally, emotional maturity for me is very, very key. Very, very key, because, man, I'm sorry, I don't like a man that behaves like a child. A man should be a man. There are things that makes a man a man. Okay, let me not go to. And even for a woman, don't remain a girl. That's the growth we're talking about. If you marry, you see some women, they are married, they have 2, 3 kids, but they are still like babies themselves. You don't have a sense of responsibility to these children. I've heard of a lady who wakes up in the morning, she doesn't bathe her kids, she doesn't know how they drop them off at school, she sits by her phone all day, she's on Instagram, she's watching this, she's watching that, and you're a mother. You have brought kids into the world. Even if you're not working, you don't have the 9 to 5 job, because maybe your husband can provide everything and he has said, oh, sit at home. For goodness sake, you have a responsibility to these children. You have a responsibility to run your home. Even if servants are there, you have a responsibility to even care for the servants and supervise what it is they are doing. So, we all have to grow in this thing called marriage. Grow before the marriage. Grow within the marriage. It is very, very frustrating when one person is growing and the other person is not. And I'm going to attack brothers again. I'm bringing it back. Because most times guys don't want to learn new things. It's true. Oh, I used to treat you this way when we were dating. You liked it. Why are you complaining now? Hello, she's grown. She's grown. She's grown on you. And it breeds resentment when, this person is growing, the other person is not. So this person is making effort in the relationship to make it better. The other person is still dwelling in their 20, 30 years life of how it used to be. So it's important that both of us understand that we are in this situation. We have to grow. We have to evolve. And I'll give you a very funny example. I'm not afraid to use my husband as an example. My husband is one person who never knew how to boil water. Don't bring him to the kitchen. Zero when it comes to domestication. Yeah, but since arriving in the UK and since moving away from Nigeria, Nigeria, we always have help. family around and people and all that. So it was quite easy. Even with me always being a busy, I've always been a busy woman, busy bee. We always had help, so it wasn't so bad. But moving out of Nigeria, bro had to adjust. He had to start boiling water and making tea. Hunger will kill somebody's child. He had to wash plates sometimes. So imagine him sitting down there and saying, me that used to have house steps surrounding me, how can I wash plates? Hello, there'll be problem. That's just a simple example. And I know some Nigerian men back home now say, I will never go and live abroad. I know a man that is saying, me, I'll not go and live abroad. They'll make me wash plates. Anyways, it's your life. Look, we are in a partnership, like PJ said from the onset. If we have that understanding that it's a partnership, then every part of the partnership needs to function. And whatever A needs to do to help B grow, whatever B needs to do to help C grow, that should happen. I've seen men who are growing, but they've left their wives where the wives used to be. So you married this woman. I got married with NCE, a Nigerian Certificate in Education. Today I'm studying for a PhD. It's because someone gave me the opportunity to grow. Because if I had married a man who said, you are not going to any school in my house, so that one you brought is what is enough. What would I do? Where would I be? Do you get what I'm saying? It's not easy, but we all have to work at it, both of us. And my time is running out. Anyways, this topic is going to come back again next week. And if I can still bring these people, I'll bring them back. I know PJ is very, very busy. I'll bring them back. I'm bringing some other group of people who will trash this topic as much as we can, because it's really, really important. There are some aspects of it that we've not talked about. But thank you so much for your time, PJ. Thank you so much for your time, TT. We've learned a lot today. Responsibility, maturity is what we should look out for. But quickly before we go, there's one thing I really want to talk about, or I want you to just hit at before we go. Why do people stigmatize couples who seem to be, especially when you have a guy who is much younger than a lady in marriage? With the ladies too, people stigmatize them. They see a young girl who's married to a much older man, and they're like, she's just a gold digger. She's just with him for his money. Why do you think people do that? Very quickly. We might not be able to talk about the solution, but let's scratch it a bit. Titi?
I think it's just what has some of the Patrick was talking about some things that we need to unlearn. So it's one of those things that have been imputed into our brain, into our mindset, to think once he's way older, she's way young, she must be a gold digger, or he must be a gold digger. Yes, these things happen, but it's not in all cases, especially nowadays, where people are more enlightened, people have better understanding of these things. So the reason why is that this thing has been imputed in our brain to automatically think that once you see that kind of situation, something must be wrong somewhere, but it's not always the case.
Okay, PJ. Is
Uh,
it just a cultural thing?
Yeah, I feel like from the guys one, there is something to do with respect there, which we can't even, so it's easier to say marry someone who's younger than you, because it's easier to say, yeah, she'll be able to respect you and all that. So that's a whole different topic in itself. But the ladies one, I think that's interesting, because I think that's in my opinion, a more recent thing with our generation, where lady marrying older guys are being stigmatized. Because back in the days, the age gap between our mom and dads were quite a lot, and it was kind of all right, But these days, it's now beginning to be seen as something else, which, of course, we all know why. But that's a whole topic in itself again. But yeah, another time we can go into the details.
Yeah. Our time is almost up, like I said. So some people say it's because Adam was created first, before the woman was created later. If God wanted the woman to be older than the man, he should have created woman before Adam. We can't go into all that. Thank you so much for your time, PJ. Dr. Patrick, thank you for your time. Pharmacist Titilayo Izwaja, thank you so much for your time. I truly, truly appreciate your joining me in this conversation. For every one of us who've joined, thank you. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your answers. Like I said, this topic is going to continue next week. We have only scratched it. There's a whole lot surrounding love and age that we still need to talk about. So stay glued. Wait for us. We're going to come again next Sunday, 6 p.m. GMT. You know the time where you are. Just put it. What's the equivalent of 6 p.m. GMT? Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for staying online. I truly, truly love you all. Thank you, viewers. Thank you at Precotech for your support. I keep telling you guys, I'm the mother of a tech engineer. Oh, that's another advantage of marrying early. We'll talk about it next week. I love you. Thank you. And bye, everyone.
Thanks very much. It's great to be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank
Have a
you.
good
Thank
one.
you,
Bye.
Titi.